Scott, Antonio, Jacob. Okay, The Mummy, the launching of the Dark Universe, and the new Universal Monsters. I went to see the film today with Antonio, and I just thought I'd just put my thoughts down before I plunge headlong into the reviews or everything. I've been, like with Kong Skull Island, I wanted to stay away from any reviews, no newspaper reviews, internet reviews, anything. I just wanted to stay away. I wanted to take a look at this and just see what I thought and then go forward. As of now, I've only seen a couple of reviews from people online on YouTube that I have great respect for. But as far as, but this is solely my opinion of, what I think, what I saw, or at least my initial thoughts. I mean, what I will say right off the bat is that I think that The Mummy, in relationship to being a launching point for the Dark Universe, I think is a good start. It's not a perfect film. Now, personally, I actually love the film, but I love the film not so much like, I'm sure people who are just going to see a mummy movie are thinking, and some are thinking like, why are we getting another mummy movie? We had one with the Brendan Fraser, and there's been other versions going all the way back to 1932. So I understand the film itself has some flaws, and I could nitpick a lot of problems, but the thing is, just from my own perspective, I love the film just because I understand what it was trying to do, and I understand what it's trying to begin. So in that respect, I did really like it. Can I recommend it? Yes, of course. If you're very interested in the Universal Monsters, this is a good film to see. It's not supposed to be taken seriously. I think there may be some criticism of it by people who may not understand fully what's going on. Now, I don't know that I know what's going on. I can only say I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, this is what I think is going on. The story itself is pretty straightforward. If you've seen the trailer, you got a pretty good idea of the story. Tom Cruise as a mercenary treasure hunter who unearths the mummy in the first place. Of course, you've got Russell Crowe, who plays Dr. Henry Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And I won't go into any spoilers on the film because in case you guys haven't seen it and you're still curious to see it. But this whole idea of like the mummy, this mummy princess who was going to be the first queen of Egypt, but then it turned out that before she could take the throne, her father married another woman, and she gave birth to a son. So Princess Amenet, I believe is her name, she sees everything she was building for to be queen of Egypt is taken away because her father has a baby son who then will become the heir. So she embraces this dark magic. She wants to, murder the people that are in her way, embrace this dark magic, and bring forth Set, the god of death. So stakes are high, and that, of course, leads to her being condemned and mummified alive, which, again, that's every mummy movie from the 32 version to the 59 version to the 1999 version with Brendan Fraser. It's all been about the same thing. A priest, in this case, it was always like a high priest who did something, taboo in trying to save the woman he loves. In this case, it's a female mummy, and she's looking for not just power but also to bring forth the god of death, Set, in like a mortal form. In this case, of course, it would be as a man, and of course her plans are foiled, and then she's stuck, and then then until she's unearthed 5,000 years later by Tom Cruise and everybody. There's some good action set pieces. There's a certain amount of comedy in this film, which might be disheartening for some people. I kind of look at it as like, the original Universal Monsters films did have their share of comedy, particularly when you get into the 1940s films, which is where a lot of the films, the Mummy series was done. You had, of course, the 1932 Mummy, and then there was all the sequels about Karis, which was in the 40s. But there was always like a touch of comedy in these films anyway. And I'm not talking about the Abbott and Costello film. I mean, there is literally side characters making kind of funny, jokes or whatever. Maybe it wasn't the best humor, how just side characters or whatever. But there was a certain amount of humor to this film. Like, don't take this too seriously. And to me, that felt a little like a tribute to the kind of, fun that went into the original films. I could be wrong about that. Maybe they're just bad jokes. I don't know. But I just remember as I was watching it, I thought I could kind of see that style. Now, I think the horror elements are very well done considering the film is PG-13. The tomb itself, we got it all covered. It's dark, it's dank, there are cobwebs, there are, since it's way out in the desert, we have camel spiders, which are not nice to look at. Of course, you have scenes in a sewer. We have other creatures like rats and I believe a spider or a beetle of some kind. So the atmosphere is there, and even the Prodigium headquarters, which in this film is underneath the British Museum. Although it's set in the present day, it kind of looks a little old school. There's computers and everything, but there's the artifacts and this whole cage apparatus they have set up, to contain the mummy. It looks like something that they kind of put together, not sure what exactly they might have to cage in there. And of course, there's a lot of little Easter eggs from a skull sitting in a glass jar, with the teeth like a vampire's, and of course, there's distinctively you see the creature from the Black Lagoon's arm in another jar, which there could be more than one Gill Man. That's actually a tribute to the opening shot, I think, of the opening scene in Creature of the Black Lagoon. And even in one scene, they even have the Book of the Dead from the 1999 Mummy film. I thought it was funny that kind of made a kind of quick cameo. Somebody uses it to bash somebody in the head with. And then I thought, oh, that's from the 99 film. So the Book of the Dead was also in their little library. So the little Easter eggs are there. And again, I did like the fact that they were going for a darker tone. It's not in black and white, but it sure as heck, there's scenes that are very, very dark, like a very gray palette. When they're out in the desert, it's all bright, it's beautiful, it's landscape. Of course, you get to London, which is about the grayest city on the planet, and you get your nighttime, and then there's there's one scene towards the end. I won't say exactly what it is, but there is a scene where one character is talking to another one, and the one character is completely hidden in darkness. You can only see them in silhouette. And the idea is like, don't, come near me. And I've seen that a few times in older films, and it looked very creepy, old school creepy. So I think I know what they were hoping for. And I don't know if they were trying maybe they were trying too hard to try to make this world set up, or I don't know. Alex Kurtzman, who's the director, now, he's the guy at Universal who's headlining this whole dark universe. He put together he's got the writers together. He's brought in a bunch of directors and production designers, and they want to get all together to really start building this. Kurtzman himself, he's a writer and a producer, but he's never directed before, and this was kind of his first film to direct. So, again, so you don't get the maybe the best quality. But again, I think the reason why Kurtzman wanted to direct it is he at least wanted to set the tone, because I know that other directors, some pretty good directors, are coming forward to do films after this. So it's kind of like Kurtzman has like a vision and he says, let me just direct the first one and just, here's what I'm hoping to go with, and then they can build on it like from there. Like I've said before, in interviews, he said, we want to make the film, we want to see what works, what doesn't work, and then we'll tweak it going forward. The Prodigium as an organization, which is a multinational organization, is going to be the one thing that's like in all the different films. But like the Monarch organization over for Godzilla and King Kong, it might just play a very minor role, because the focus has to be on the monsters. And there could be, I could see them telling stories, they want to do the Bride of Frankenstein, they want to do the Creature in the Black Lagoon. I could see them doing a Creature from the Black Lagoon film. They could do it for half the money on a budget and just basically just tell that, do a new version of that story and just tell that story. Maybe mention the Prodigium as because it's an archaeological organization. So there could be somebody from the Prodigian organization, but they don't have to be like, it doesn't, the organization doesn't have to be a central point of all this. You can still tell the same story of where, people go to the Black Lagoon looking for the Gill Man or maybe more evidence of him, and they get trapped and the monster appears. You could do that, and it doesn't have to have any connection with the Mummy. You don't have to reference the Mummy or the characters there. So I think this can work. And I do like the idea that they want to keep it kind of loose at the beginning to just see what works and what doesn't. Marvel kind of did that at the beginning. They had an idea, they had an end game, with the Avengers film, but they wanted to try to get there as best they could. And they succeeded. But that's a superhero world. This is a monster world. I don't think it should be a whole different set of rules. So, I guess, guys, the best thing I can say, if you love the Universal monster films, absolutely, this is a film worth seeing. It's worth seeing in the theater, I think. You don't have to, which Mummy film is it better than? I don't think that really matters. I saw enough in the film to make me feel good about what I'm seeing. I hope they keep building on. There's a couple things I don't think they need to do in future films, to be perfectly honest. But, I'll just let them do, they have some kind of a plan. There's some kind of plan, but then also they just want to see what works. And, at this point, I just want to just say, look, you got a good start. Hopefully you can build on it. You have a foundation. Now let's build something and, just keep improving on it and make it better. You don't have to sit there with the foundation and say, this is exactly what the building's going to look like. I think the leeway might help. So anyway, guys, that's my 2 cents on the Mummy. It's not a perfect film. I love it for what it is. I love it for what it represents. I love the Wolfman remake, to be perfectly honest, in 2010, but I understand the flaws in that film, and I understand the flaws here, but, you just, I don't want to feel disheartened, because I do believe there's still something there. There's a lot of stuff that I'd like to see, but if I don't see, just because I don't see what I want to see doesn't mean I don't want to see, I love this concept. I hope they can keep building on it, the MonsterVerse with King Kong and Godzilla. I want to see where they're going with it. They got a good grip there. This is the Universal Monsters. It's just something else that was so fun when we were kids, and build on that. So, like I said, it's a good start, and there is room for improvement, and hopefully they won't, cut their losses and run, because I still think there is some good potential there. We can just hope. So, guys, thanks as always, and let me know what your thoughts are. I always love to hear from you guys. And take care. Talk to you later.